What happens when two strangers with two completely different opinions meet for dinner? In this social experiment, people from all walks of life are paired up with their direct opposite and guided through a menu of questions specifically designed to promote discussion, disagreement and debate. Will they agree to disagree?
You raised the racism thing.
Huh. I'm a female, but I'm not a feminist.
You've just taken a massive leap.
I'm not biologically female and very comfortable with that.
Could they end up bonding over shared life experiences?
I see a smile on your face. What are you thinking right now?
When you put that back to me, it does sound rather foolish.
I admire that so much about you.
Or will it be fireworks from the off?
They are the most outdated thing in the world. I'm not going to accept that comment.
No!
Have you ever thought about being a sex worker?
I'd end up doing more damage than good.
Are you really a traveller?
What a truly obnoxious thing to say.
Do you trust the governments?
Ha! No.
It's a man and a woman make a child. It's just a fact.
This is Eating with the Enemy. In this restaurant, strangers have agreed to meet with their direct opposite for dinner. Over the course of their meal, a selection of carefully curated questions will cut through the small talk and reveal what our diners really think. Watching on are two experts there to observe the behaviour of so-called enemies meeting face to face.
There is no safe space nowadays for a conversation with a different point of view. What this experiment does, it offers an opportunity for people to meet with their opposites and provide them with a safe space to have a respectful conversation.
Eating with somebody is an incredibly vulnerable and intimate experience. We immediately modify those visceral responses that we can launch so quickly behind a screen, because now, as we sit in front of somebody, we have to take responsibility for our opinions.
If we limit our conversations to people with similar points of view, it only reinforces what we already believe. This experiment is an antidote to all of that.
With everything fired up and ready to go, let's meet our first diner.
My name is Darren. I'm a strength and conditioning coach and I'm from Tala. I describe myself as caring, kind and strong. I'd love to have a conversation with somebody who challenges me belief around some of the stuff that irritates me. A chat with an influencer who may well be unaware of the impact that they're having while they're focused on what works best for them. I just don't like social media. I don't like the message that a lot of people put out on it, you know? I'm hoping to gain some insight into whether or not people who are prominent in social media actually understand what they're doing. I think just experience outweighs someone in their early 20s or early 30s who hasn't really done a whole lot apart from sitting in front of a computer screen all day, taking pictures or writing blogs, like, you know, so I'd love to challenge my own views around that. My motto in life would be, get on with it.
So, who's dining with Darren?
My name is Katya. I'm a model and influencer, and I'm from Dublin. I didn't set out to be an influencer. Instagram was just something that I thoroughly enjoyed. I definitely just changed my career path, but it's something I've fallen in love with, I'm passionate about, and it does make me happier than sitting at a desk. The kind of issues that could come up today that would get me going are definitely the curve modelling industry and also misrepresentation in the media world and influencing world. I'm taking part in Eating with the Enemy because I kind of want to meet my enemy. I want to meet someone that has a different opinion to me. I don't know how it will go, but I'm just looking forward to a brand new experience.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Katya. Nice to meet you.
Darren is my name. Nice to meet you.
So how would your friends describe you?
I think they describe me as caring, strong. What about yourself? How would your friends say you?
They would probably say I'm passionate, ambitious, and silly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Passionate about what?
Passionate about my career, because I changed my career not so long ago. Do you mind me asking what you're working as currently?
I'm a strength and conditioning coach.
Okay.
Yeah, so I own a gym.
Thank you.
So what I trained initially as a personal trainer, thank you. and moved into strength and conditioning then. Yeah, so I'm in the fitness industry. And what about yourself? What line of work are you in, or what career?
I do content creation, influencer on Instagram, and I'm a model.
A content creator.
Yeah. Have you heard of the term before?
So what's that? Help me to
So we
understand.
create content for brands.
Okay.
We create content for our following. And yeah, it pretty much goes from there. I feel like the world of marketing has moved towards social media so much so. Plenty of opportunities there.
Okay.
I see a smile on your face. What are you thinking right now?
I get it and I understand it. It's the new leaflet drops and the new billboards and magazines, isn't it, to a certain extent? And it's crucial for marketing businesses. I mean, we use it ourselves at the gym. Plenty of opportunities to do what?
To work with brands that you wouldn't really have access to in the past. I feel like before the world of social media, it was really television they went after, or having a billboard, having an ad after the news. People aren't really being swayed by those methods of advertisement these days, so it's now very much social media. I don't think he valued my job initially. I was getting quite of a negative tone, and I think he thought it was a bit of fun and games.
Let's see who else is coming to dinner.
My name is Declan Flaherty. I'm 40 years old and I'm from Kennedy in County Offaly. How would I describe myself? Bubbly, outgoing, enthusiastic. It used to be LGBTQ. Now it's all the way up to almost Z. It frustrates me big time because it's almost like they're living off the coattails of us, people who are gay. They want to be trans, they want to be non-binary, they want to be, you know, various different identities, and I just think a lot of it's for attention, and it really does frustrate me because I think that they're living vicariously through us. I really want to have the conversation with my opposite today because hopefully I can get through to them and maybe make them think about their own opinions and their own perspectives on things. And likewise, I want the same in return.
With Declan ready and waiting, let's meet his dinner companion for the evening.
I'm Luca, I'm 31 and I'm from Dublin. My passions are gender and sexuality, women's rights, and just rights. I'd like to meet someone today who has different views from me, the type of person that I'd meet in everyday life who doesn't really get me or the whole gender thing. My opposite could be a man or a woman who believes that there's only gay and straight and there's only man or woman. They might not agree with transgender, they might not agree with all these labels, but I like to meet someone that I can show my experience that labels are just labels. It's their personality that matters and it's their soul that matters. I'm pretty sure I might be able to convince them a little bit more, depending on how tight their cogs are turned. I'm a trans woman, this is my life, I live this life, and I think these are conversations worth having. Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm Luca, nice to meet you.
Huh?
Luca, nice to meet you.
I won't say what's the crack because I actually hate that expression. Like, whose crack are we talking about anyway? Wow. Honestly, I thought to myself, are we even going to get on? Because she was everything that I kind of figured I wouldn't get on with. Figured that we were going to see just completely opposite ends of the spectrum, opposite ends of the table, opposite ends of everything.
I think Declan might be slightly a bit more conservative than I would be, maybe.
How would your friends describe you?
I suppose they describe me as very passionate and very intense, but also, I suppose I'd like to think fun. And your shirt is fun too.
Oh, thanks very much. It's working so. Yeah, no, my friends would describe me as very, very outgoing, talks non-stop. They kind of rely on me to keep the conversation going, and if I'm quiet, they're quiet, and the whole thing is just an awkward silence. So, kind of like, they normally don't want to go out on a night out unless I'm actually there because it keeps the whole thing together.
You're the fire starter.
I'm the fire starter, yeah. They'd be very, very introverted.
I always say I'm a bit of an introvert posing as an extrovert. You have to be to get your
You're on the
point across.
board or you're on the wall there, exactly.
When people meet for the first time, we create instant judgments. Very often, this is done unconsciously. We don't realize we're doing it, but we're using cues like their appearance, their dress sense, how they make us feel in order to make that judgment.
Back with fitness coach Darren and content creator Katya, Darren is still getting his head around the role of influencers.
The industry that I'm in is obviously top-heavy with influencers and content creation. So when I started off, there was no Instagram. Facebook was just up and coming. So for me, the influencer phenomenon
Wasn't
around. The opportunity that I had to step into the fitness industry was an opportunity to help people.
And do you feel like social media content creators don't help people in a sense?
So I feel like they do a huge amount of damage.
Okay.
When he said that content creators actually do damage, I felt that it came from a personal spot. So I tried to be compassionate with that statement, but I think it depends on the individual. You can't blame the medium as a whole.
When you say damage, what examples?
Let's say an influencer in, let's say, hair and beauty.
Yeah.
Take, for example, at the moment, the lips and the hair and the eyelashes and the nose that young girls, let's say, for example, are coming up now feeling
they need to enhance.
This is where they need to be. And if I look a certain way and I put that picture out on my social media, and if I've got to get a certain amount of likes or a certain amount of interaction to feel somewhat validated, I think that's a dangerous place.
Well, I feel like social media has totally heard that argument. Like now Instagram doesn't even show likes. But I think when you say enhancing certain body parts, that's totally up to the individual. And when they seek a professional's opinion, it takes plenty of consultations before they actually get something done.
Yeah.
And it's up to a professional doctor to advise, look, you might not need this, you're too young for it. It's totally down to the individual. When
she said it's down to the individual, how they interact with social media, no, I don't really agree with that when we're talking about minors and under, kids who are not yet developed.
While I agree, and to some extent with Darren saying that social media puts pressures on kids, I also feel like it's down to who the kids surround themselves with. I think kids need to have their core values down to a T at home before they let an app sway them into, believing they should look a certain way.
The diners in this restaurant are taking part in a social experiment to see what happens when total opposites meet for dinner. During their meal, a specially designed menu of questions steers the conversation. With the restaurant in full flow, who's next to eat with their enemy?
I'm James, I'm 35 and I'm from Dublin. 2 years ago I was diagnosed with lymphoma of the brain. I was given 24 hours to live. Spent 10 months in hospital and, well, life's full of surprises and I'm still going. The reason I'm taking part with Eating with the Enemy is to experience someone outside of my circle with a different viewpoint that I wouldn't necessarily engage with on a daily basis, and to hopefully show some exposure to people in a wheelchair.
So, who will be having dinner with James?
My name is John, I'm from Dublin, and I work at the Healing House. I practice numerology. I'm 68, turning 69, so I'm beginning to get the hang of it now. I draw up charts which are like time maps, if you want to put it that way. I studied astrology for a number of years, and I couldn't make it work for me. I think the final straw was when extra planets were discovered, and I realised couldn't be true.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, my name is John.
James, nice to meet you.
James.
So I kind of have this preconceived notion that older white men are a little bit more narrow-minded and a bit more kind of boxed into a very particular rigid box of viewpoints.
What do you believe in that most others don't? If I could start there,
please.
I believe in numerology. Most people think I'm mad, but people who get their charts done don't think so.
That would not be something I would have a tendency to agree with.
Okay. Do you know numerology? Have you studied it?
I haven't. I come from a maths background.
Yeah.
So I have an affinity with numbers.
Me too.
In very different ways.
Yeah.
I'm always open to be convinced about anything. I think anything is possible, but no, I don't believe in numerology.
Numerology uses numbers in a totally different way to the other forms of mathematical uses.
And I think that's where I struggle with getting my head around understanding it. How those numbers and the meanings have something sort of divine attached to them is something that's a struggle for me to kind of understand.
Okay, well, I felt his guarded hostility at first, but I knew it was just self-protection.
I think, for me personally, my exposure to that kind of field would be people out there to make a few quid off people's want for an explanation of something.
Yeah.
What do you base a reading on?
I take their date of birth. I would analyse the date of birth, and I would analyse things like the spelling of their name.
And is it a case then of Mystic Meg predicting the...
No. I completely understand where he's coming from. Many mathematicians of various different professions, engineers, accountants, etc., have come to me with similar skeptical beliefs. And when they discover that numerology can actually take a different turn, they come around.
Overall, from what I've gauged or seen and be exposed to it...
So
far, exactly. It hasn't done anything to kind of quell my skepticism.
Will technology save the human race or destroy it?
I think it will save the human race. I think it already has in certain ways.
Really?
Yes.
Help me understand that.
We have computers, we have phones, like we're able to connect with people, businesses across the globe, and people are able to access workouts online. Like, you work in the fitness industry. Hasn't it changed for the better?
Not because of social media. Social media is actually ruining it. I think when you speak about an individual having self-worth and having that value on themselves, I don't think that's reflective in the society that we're in these days. I think when you look at the enhancement of bodies, rather than being comfortable with your body, being comfortable with your personality, your values, and expressing those in your daily life, I think is much more how it should be.
I think if you're currently using social media right now, you will see that. Now, we've moved forward in the sense that it's all about reality right now. So I find that no one is really portraying too much of a facade these days because we are...
Really? You think that?
Yeah.
Katya commented that she doesn't think anybody is putting out a facade on social media. And I just completely disagree with that because it's most of the time, the whole thing is a facade.
As someone that uses it and works on it, I've seen the evolution, and what people are doing and what people are loving and appreciating is just being really real. So you do find people with real bodies. I am someone that is so proud to say what size I wear, and I have messages from women that are like, I always felt so self-conscious to wear this because of so-and-so. And they might even feel pressured from the fitness community because they see people that are working out 6 times a week, whatever. And if we're being real, in this whole world, the majority of them have the bodies that I can talk about and I relate to on my social media. And I feel like that's why social media has benefited them, because we are real and we talk about these things. I feel like you have a misconception about it.
About which part exactly?
You think it's people encouraging the youth to augment their bodies and change who they are and forget their sense of self. I think quite the opposite.
Katya said technology had saved the human race, and you know, I had to just laugh because, yeah, I think it saved the economic race and it's accentuated the economic race, but it certainly hasn't saved the human race, no doubt about that.
I think when he says he doesn't agree with where the world's going, like, is he just going to stay behind? Like, what is he going to do? Because the world is going and they're not waiting for him. Technology is constantly evolving, and I think we all just need to get with it. And there's so many positives from it, but if you want to look at the negative side, that's just you.
At Declan and Luca's table, it's time for one of life's big questions.
What is the most difficult decision you've ever had to make?
Jesus, do I want boobies or not? No. I suppose transition, I suppose, was a pretty difficult one because I was caught between two worlds.
Okay.
So the world of being involved in, the gay community, and I was being myself as a gay man, and then there was something not right. So then I was like, I want to be feminine, but I didn't have any understanding of it back then. I'm 31 now, so I transitioned when I was like 19. So it was a different. It was a different world. So that was a difficult decision for me.
Are labels ever important?
So I think labels are important to understand things, but I don't think they're important in the sense where we use a label before we use someone's character.
How do you find the way it's gone from the LGBT community up to almost Z now?
I feel that's just people who have been ostracized and outcasted, like myself.
Okay.
And we're just all trying to make sense of it. But at the end of the day, we need to break that down, because if we're going to really accept each other for who we are, it doesn't matter. That's the whole point of acceptance, is that it really doesn't matter that your character and everything else is built, your identity, how you dress, it's all built,
It's almost like everyone wants to just jump on the bandwagon now because it's the thing to do. It's almost a fad. And it's not a clothing line, come on. I mean, it's sexuality, it's lives we're talking about here. It's people's personal lives. So do you believe that in terms of someone saying they're non-binary, or somebody saying they're like, what else? What's the other labels? My goodness, there's so many of them. I'm actually getting lost here. Do you think a lot of that's for attention? Because it's almost like everyone wants to jump on the LGBTQ bandwagon.
Yeah,
I find that.
So I don't know about attention. I was bullied, and a lot of kids are bullied. People who identify as non-binary are probably bullied. So I think people should learn to project themselves as they are without trying to make sense and look into it too much.
I noticed you're just using your right hand. Is there a problem?
Yeah. 2 years ago, I had brain cancer.
Oh.
And I lost mobility on the left side.
Ooh.
So it's coming back.
Great.
It's a process,
Yeah.
But we're getting there.
I had a tumour inside my heart when I was 35. Stopped me dead for a while. Got it removed, and like you, I spent a few months recovering.
When we bond with somebody over a shared life experience, it reminds us of our common humanity. We release a hormone called oxytocin, which helps us to feel safe, calm, and securely connected with other people.
Not fun.
No.
Always waiting for it to come back.
Yeah. John and I both experienced cancer. Neither of us have been foretold that this was going to happen. John has spent his life involved with numerology and tarot reading, but no one told him, hey, mate, you're going to have your chest ripped open. No one told me I was going to end up in a wheelchair.
Did you have surgery to get it removed?
It was in too deep.
Oh.
So I spent 10 months in Beaumont and had like 4 or 5 rounds of like intense chemo.
Oops.
Like really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Which thankfully has been successful.
So I wish you well in your recovery.
Thank you very much. It's getting there, it's getting there. Kind of no pun, but you roll with it really at the moment.
With all the diners enjoying their meals, Darren and Katya are biting into another question.
What does body positivity mean to you?
Being comfortable in it. It's very rare you meet somebody who's like completely comfortable with everything. You will always get people within the environment we've created in our gym. I'd love to look like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I hope everybody wins, and the beauty of it from how I operate, I suppose, is every single day we get an opportunity to set up little wins for people. All of that sort of stuff fills my tank with this sense of this is better than me spending all day long taking pictures of myself and promoting myself, and I think there are a lot of people out there who do that.
Yeah. I would say, for me, this is coming from someone that has gone through body dysmorphia since the age of 13.
Really?
Before I was on Instagram.
Really?
So I would say body positivity to me is being comfortable in your skin, wearing whatever you want, and really trying to love yourself. And it's the mind as well. I feel like if you tell yourself some positive things about your body, about how you look enough times, your mind will start to believe it, because we're so used to telling ourselves negative things. Whether that is you being a size 14 and loving your body, wearing whatever you want, wear that. Whether it's you being a size 16 or 18, wearing whatever you want, feeling sexy and confident in it, that's body positivity to me. I just feel like all we used to see on media was just one type of body, and you know, someone that has like 0 body percentage of fat, and you're like, that's just so unrealistic.
Unrealistic, yeah.
So unrealistic. And the majority of people right now are people that have hips and thighs and whatever, and we need to celebrate that kind of body shape. And I feel like a huge part of seeing media representation change and seeing curvier and plus size women on screens is thanks to people voicing their opinions online and, you know, speaking out about it.
Previously, media representation was just the celebration of size 0, size 4, and now social media is showing and portraying that there's so many more body types out there that are okay and that are gorgeous. And I think that is helping us so much with self-acceptance and body positivity.
At Declan and Luca's table, they're continuing their discussion on identity and labels.
I think sometimes, you know, people may identify as something without actually knowing exactly what it means and thinking, well, you know what, maybe I am this, but then maybe, say, weeks later, identifying as something else.
When I started to transition, I identified as gender fluid for years because I didn't want to have to change my voice or go on hormones.
Okay.
I still don't take hormones.
Okay.
I got a big pair of bazookas. But
come in handy, Jordan.
They come in handy in the queues for the nightclubs.
Well, there you go.
That's just our culture again. And I feel that, like, when I was younger, I identified as gender fluid. But then as I got older, I was like, I'm just comfortable with my body. I'm just me. I mean, I suppose the label would be trans, but I mean, I'm just myself. I mean, I know very much that I'm not biologically female and very comfortable with that.
But I admire that. The fact that you're actually sitting here saying that to me, that you're happy with who you are. Why should anyone be bothered by that?
100%.
You're being real with it.
What I think, Declan, I feel that I felt a need to put on a certain voice to be valid as a woman, to walk a certain way, or to take hormones, but none of that is true. If your identity as a feminine person is your identity, you don't have to follow any rules for that identity. I've navigated through all those tunnels and all those doorways, and I have little tools and little keys to navigate around. So I'd like to be able to help younger people or people who are lost and show them that there's so much more to life if we just have these conversations openly. And I find I've met a lot of trans people that I've been at loggerheads with that don't agree with a lot of my views, and they think that I'm not a real woman because I don't take hormones.
Okay.
Your femininity and everything about you, what you are, is not defined by one thing.
It's not in a pill.
Exactly. We're like a Portuguese man of war. We're bits of everything.
We are. I hadn't really met trans people up till now. Everything that I knew of them or thought about them was either on social media or on television. So she was completely the opposite of what I had expected her to be.
We divide ourselves based on our genitals, and that's like the be-all and end-all, but there's so much more to our body parts. It's just flesh, it's transformative, it's temporary. So the soul and the person's character is so important. I think we're getting to a place, I'd like to think we're getting to a place where that's been understood.
Do alternative medicines work?
I would not be of the opinion that they do. The reason I'm here is due to medicine, some of it being quite toxic and almost killed me, but again, saved me. So I would be a hard and fast ruler on actual medical science. I have never tried any alternative therapies during my rehabilitation processes. I've had CBD and some THC, but I don't know if they're considered that.
Alternative medicine has many, many, many different manifestations. For instance, massage is alternative medicine.
I would consider that complementary medicine.
Okay. Counseling?
Mental health.
Sleep therapy? Acupuncture?
It did nothing for me.
Diet? That's an alternative medicine.
I think some dietitians would disagree with you on that one, but...
Well, a lot of the people who work in the diet field would disagree with dietitians.
So that's where I would kind of have a struggle with. Do I think food plays an important part in diet? Absolutely. But to say that putting lemon in water is going to like speed up your metabolism, etc., or you have people saying eating mushrooms is going to stop breast cancer. It's just not okay.
It's certainly not okay. When I turned 60, I took a sharp left, as it were, and I went and studied with an Australian, and I learned about the Emmett technique. Essentially, what it does is it releases muscle pain and tension and knots and trauma from various parts of the body by simply using fingertip pressure in the right places.
John's healing technique presented something a bit more physical in the sense that he was working with pressure points and things like that. But to base your whole recovery on something like that and disregarding scientific evidence does not compute with me.
I found that to be effective. I found it to be helpful. So I wouldn't be just doing numerology alone. I would be helping people physically. If I can relieve their pain, it's a huge bonus for them.
So how is Declan and Luca's conversation going?
All over Grindr, which is a gay dating app. You know what it is, right?
I do.
And all these men are like, they're shagging trans girls all left, right and centre, and nobody's talking about it. Because the women think that, oh, well, he must be gay, but we're realising that it's more of a spectrum.
Exactly.
And that it's not gay and straight, it's not man or woman. Like, obviously, biologically, there's male and female, but there's more on that spectrum. More people are, like, guys are going off with trans girls all the time. They don't identify as gay,
and
so they can't
identify as straight.
Exactly, because there's no language for that, so there's no place for them to turn. So they need more of an evolution in thinking, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just hope that people will realise that you don't have to label your brother or your colleague gay if he likes a trans woman. It's very normal to be attracted to trans women. It's very normal for our traditional notion of gender and sexuality to be shaken up a little bit. Let's not label ourselves, let's just enjoy the party and don't be afraid. If you like a trans girl, say you like a trans girl.
Have you ever had an issue with guys who met you out and realised you were trans and they're just like, hell?
So I always am honest with guys, just in case on the off chance that they're not attracted to someone who has a penis or someone who is transgender. I would just say to them, I'm a trans girl, whatever. A lot of guys are into it. The interesting thing that I find from my observations, Declan, is that a lot of guys, if they freak out in public nowadays, it's not so much that they're not into it, it's more so much that they're into what their friends will think about it. That's where the freak outs nowadays come from. It doesn't come from the trans, because they'll go on Grindr 20 minutes later and you know.
So they're living in a bubble, they're living in a shell, they can't be themselves, and it's a pretty sad life in 2022 when we care so much about what people are going to damn well think.
I'm just angry at all the guys who like trans girls who are afraid to come forward, who are afraid to date me publicly, to bring me home to their mum and dad. Some guys will do it, a lot of guys will do it, but there are, like, all the hot ones won't. It's ridiculous. I mean, we think we're progressive, but the real progression comes with the pain when we challenge ourselves, and when we go through the darkness to get to the other side. We have to challenge ourselves and say, yeah, she's trans, I like her, and what, like, why, where are these stigmas coming from? Question everything, ask questions, don't be frightened.
So far, Katya and Darren have very different views on social media and influencers. But can they reach common ground on life's other big questions?
Has technology changed dating and romance?
For young girls these days, or young boys, I'm sure it's the exact same. Somebody puts a picture of themselves up on social media. It's quite possible, especially as a father of daughters, it's quite possible that they have to deal with a barrage of
male attention.
Now, in order to get female attention, when I was growing up, you had to get dressed, you had to get washed, you had to get prepared, you had to get your best gear on, and you had to go to a disco, you had to go into town, you had to get up and get out and do stuff. It saddens me that stuff isn't such a big part of life these days. We need to remember that there's huge value in just this, in just meeting people and arranging a time and being there and not being late and shaking hands and all of those old school values that I probably have. You know?
I see dating apps as a tool. It's simply a tool, a platform to get to a point where you're meeting people and you're chatting away. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I think has changed it for the better, because you might come across people that you never would have come across, people that are not in your circle, people that might not be from Dublin, but it exposes you to a whole new array of like men, women, whoever. So if you use it as a tool and swipe or whatever, people might say like it's all about appearances, but if we're being real, like we want to be physically attracted to the person we're going to be dating for quite amount of time, you know? We get to know their inner qualities and everything, which is just the bonus.
And do you think you can do that on a dating app?
That's what I've done on dating apps.
Really?
Yeah.
And how's it gone for you? Like?
Yeah, 5 years in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm encouraged to hear that, because I've never been on a dating app in my life. But for me, maybe again, as a father of young girls, I'm like, you're meeting someone off the internet.
I know.
I'm still kind of thinking, I'll go with you.
I know.
You know, it's mind-blowing to think of the goods ended and the possibilities, the positive possibilities.
Yeah.
But it's really scary to think about the negative.
I feel like you can't stop us like going for it, but I do think a great thing is to have some sort of guidelines, like always meet in a public place for the first time, never go back to a randomer's house, and tell your friends where you are, drop your location. That's why it's brilliant for things like that.
Yes, I do think when I said that dating apps are making dating better, he saw my point of view, because I expressed that. And I think by telling him, oh, I met my partner through this dating app and whatever, that he was like, okay, and how's it going? And I said 5 years strong, and he was like, oh.
Yeah, I think if my kids did use dating apps, I think great. You're confident enough to put yourself out there, but I'd also be that old school head on me where I'd be like, be very careful. I'm still just talking to a stranger on the internet, so I know that's an outdated view. But as a parent, you can't avoid worrying about stuff like that.
Meanwhile, numerologist John wants to find out more about his dinner companion James.
Would you like to?
Yeah, why not?
We can do some basics if you want to just give me your date of birth.
Yeah.
By simply taking their date of birth, I can gauge whether they're having an emotional issue or a mental health issue, a relationship issue, a communication issue. It's all visible in a numerology chart. There's a lot of 22s around because it's 2022 and your birthday's the 22nd of the 6th. 22 is considered a kind of special number. I've written a book about it and I'm laying out my methods for all to see, and I'm hoping people will take it further. It's been an emotional 11 or 12 months for you. It will change, and I would imagine the pace of life itself will start speeding up for you. You're on a 7 life path, and that life path is about analysis, understanding, and spirituality. So you're a statistician. That's analysis.
I don't think everything is black and white in life. I think there's a lot of grey. That's where the fun is. But I still think there needs to be some sort of logic in between.
Spirituality is the third part, which is about trust. It's about trusting yourself, trusting your own deductions. It's not about religion. If you're getting your facts, if you're taking your time to understand your facts, and then making your moves, then the chances are you'll be happy. So that's a little sample of what numerology can point out.
In theory, it's correct, but the skepticism in me is still there that we did have a whole conversation piece before getting to this, and we're quite open and forthcoming on several topics.
I don't believe that having spent virtually an hour with him influenced the reading. I would have said the same thing if he'd just met me and I read his numbers.
In saying that, I am very open to us doing a larger picture reading.
Oh, let's do that then.
And seeing what comes from that. I would be very much open to it. John was a lovely gentleman and he did his best. So I'll happily take him up on his offer to have a full reading. At the root of it, we have a lot of similarities here and a lot of like shared experiences.
Yeah.
But are quite different in some thought processes.
Well, I'm glad they took away the knives.
I got white wine for a reason. I didn't want to throw red on you, get your good blazer, you know?
Humour is a great technique to create a bond with somebody, especially if they share our particular brand of humour. It allows us to connect with somebody, but it also allows us to share our perception of the world.
And finally, what do you like about each other? I like that you come across very caring and you sound like you're really attentive and concerned and compassionate father as well. I like that about you.
Thank you. You seem like a really good person within a world that I maybe had not explored enough to form an opinion on.
Yeah.
I hope there's more people like you in that world, and that you do display a maturity that's above certainly 26 years. And it's been nice talking to you. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been great.
So the one thing that I've learned from Eating with the Enemy is it's good to speak to people who are in industries who I would probably beforehand have had a chip on my shoulder towards. Everybody is just, making their own way, and not everybody is putting out the wrong message.
I think Darren sees the value in social media after our conversation. I feel like he has been open to a new world, like the world I experience. By the end of the conversation, he did agree that there is some good that comes out of it. There are people that are being helped from it. So I feel like he might go home today thinking there is a little bit of good that goes on with social media.
And finally, what do you like about each other?
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I think I need to call you over here and, this is not for public ears. After being with her for about the first 2 or 3 questions, my mind totally flipped, did a 360. Came away from the whole thing thinking, wow, I was so wrong about trans people. I like that you're honest, you're open, you're extremely down to earth, extremely attractive. You present yourself very, very well. You're very, very well spoken, very educated. You definitely know what you're talking about, and you do not pull any punches. How can one person, over the course of an hour or two, over the course of a meal, change a lifetime of what I've always taught? And wow, was I wrong. I was completely wrong. I feel like I'm going home a completely new person. I feel like my mind has been completely washed and injected by this new level of positivity regarding the trans community, and indeed any other community that I may have been closed to.
I think you are stylish, sophisticated, you listen to what people are saying, and you are kind and very, very caring. I can tell you're very, very, very caring.
You really read me well, didn't you? That was above my own trumpet.
Got the binoculars on.
I know, right?
Scorpio moon vibes. I think having an interaction face-to-face, eye-to-eye with somebody rather than social media or on Instagram is so powerful, because you can pick up on people's energy and what they have to stand for, and you can almost feel it. And I think we need more social interaction. I think people are so caught up on cyberspace that we're forgetting to live in the real life. So I hope that changes, and I hope people find a balance.
At the end of the day, you shed a whole new light on the whole trans issue. And for me, you're really after opening up my eyes here today, and you're really after expanding my mind, and I really appreciate you for that.